Hi guys, so as promised I am making you the video explaining Ezreal's name and the history behind it, and just a fair warning, all the kids are awake and once they discover that I'm recording they're probably going to want to make a bunch of noise and jump in on here. And also another fair warning, I am super hormonal this pregnancy, and I also tend to cry when God does amazing things. So bear with me if I begin crying while I am explaining this to you. I really don't want to cry. You guys can make fun of me later. It might happen. So just bear with me. So I'm going to try to give you guys as much detail while also preserving a little bit of an intimate part of my life. So basically, when we began trying for our third baby, so we had Jaden and Zoe already, we conceived and we lost that baby, and we were desperate to conceive again, and we did a few months later, and we lost that baby. So it was for two separate reasons, and the doctors told us it was flukes and everything. And of course, I kind of spiraled into a depression. I was kind of angry with God. I questioned him a lot. You know, why do bad things happen to good people sort of deal? Why would you do that to me when there's other less deserving, in my shallow opinion, that get babies? You know, why would you take mine? So it was definitely a rough part in my life where I definitely wrestled with God. So I kind of grew, and obviously I knew that I shouldn't be running from him. So I turned to him, and then we conceived our daughter Story. So ever since the third baby that we had tried for, I had been really stuck to the name Ezra for a boy. And it meant God's helper, or a help. And I just loved that, and I loved the name, and I was just so set on it. I could not be swayed from it at all. And of course, we didn't get to use it for baby number 3. We didn't get to use it for baby number 4. And since Dory was a girl, we didn't get to use it for her either. So, long story short, we decided to try for a baby after Story. And it took us a really long time to get pregnant, and I was a little bit concerned just because it had never taken me that long to conceive before. But I kind of just didn't stress about it, and I figured it would happen in God's timing. And it did, and we got pregnant, and me thinking like our history could never repeat itself, we announced to our entire family, and we were all so giddy and so excited. It had been almost 4 years since we had had a baby. And the very next day I started losing the baby. So it was kind of like devastating all over again. But this time I had a lot stronger of a walk, and I had already experienced this kind of pain before, and I knew just to turn to God and pray for the right timing for our baby. So that loss acted as my normal cycle, and we basically conceived 2 weeks later, and that is this baby. And I pretty much tested positive, and a few days later, we kind of kept it to ourselves just because of what had just happened. And a few days later, I laid down in bed, and I was just thinking about, you know, like for some reason I felt like a really good solid reassurance to this baby. I felt like this one was gonna make it. And of course my husband was struggling with doubt a little bit, and he didn't want to get excited at all. So it was kind of rough to share in that excitement by myself. So I laid down in bed, and I started hearing from God, just that still small voice in your head. And it's almost like you can carry on a conversation, but it's through thoughts and feelings. And I started hearing from God that, here we go, that we had wrestled for a really long time for a son, and this was the baby that we had wrestled for. And just like Jacob wrestled with the angel of God until he got his blessing, and he refused to let go, and the angel touched his hip, and he sustained an injury basically that caused him to walk differently forever. And God kind of revealed to me that us fighting for the son was like me wrestling with God. Sorry. Was like me wrestling with God, and the miscarriages and how I handled them, and that would cause me to walk differently forever. But basically, because Jacob didn't let go, he still got his blessing. He got what he came for. And I was going to get what we had fought for. I was going to get our son. And even if the miscarriages made me walk differently forever and really just handle things differently and see things differently, I was still going to get my blessing. And in the Bible story, Jacob's name is changed to Israel, which means may God prevail. And he told me this name, Ezra, that I had been hanging on to for so long was basically not right. It wasn't meant for us, which I didn't even have time to be disappointed, because it was immediately followed up with, and just as I changed Jacob to Israel, I will change Ezra to Ezreal. And I started looking into it, and it's kind of funny because I told Thomas, I said, I told him exactly what had transpired, and he laughed and he said, well, in that case, I hope it's not a boy. You know, he likes the typical names, the more common names. So of course, upon hearing Ezreal, that was his first reaction. But I kind of just left it alone because I knew that God had just named our son. And I knew that Thomas also didn't want to put stock and have hope that it was a boy, because we had been trying for so long. So anyways, I kind of just let it lie. And he presented the name Cade to me as a middle name. And I just instantly loved it. It fit. And I looked it up. It meant battle. So in my mind, his name was Ezreal Cade. And when I looked up all those definitions put together, Ezra on its own means God's helper. Israel means may God prevail. And Cade means battle. So we're basically naming our son as a warrior in the battle for God so that he may prevail. And obviously, Thomas came around and he realized, you know, that this was the name, this was the right name. So it was definitely God-given, and it's definitely something that, I mean, I don't even know what to say after that. So basically, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and don't make fun of me too bad for getting all choked up. So anyways, yeah, that's his name, Ezreal Cade.